Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, my name is Anna. I am a portrait photographer in the Chicagoland area, and today we're going to be talking about photographing pets. The holidays are coming up, and there's a lot of clients of mine that have been asking to take pictures with their dogs. There's a couple things that I've learned in the past, so I wanted to give you guys a couple tips and tricks before you guys decide to do the shoot. The first step is finding a location. If you're going to do something outdoors like a Christmas tree farm, I would make sure that you call ahead and ask for permission to make sure that dogs are allowed on the farm. Normally, these are followed up with a couple terms and conditions, like the dog must be on a leash at all times, or you have to pay for a permit as well as sign a contract. So make sure that you call ahead and get everything situated right before the shoot actually happens. If you're going to be doing something indoors, like in a studio or in a client's home, I'd recommend getting as many props as you can. Now, a lot of stores like Target or Walmart are going to be having really good deals based on whatever the decorations that you're looking for, but you can also go to local craft stores and find the same exact things. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't bring props outdoors. Again, I would ask for permission, like if you're going to be on a farm, to make sure that you're able to actually bring all of these things that you need. Normally, what I recommend to clients if they're doing an outdoor Christmas tree farm is to bring a blanket, or at least I've used a couple times even a tablecloth that has the same patterns as a blanket, and it usually gives the same result. The next thing that you have to pay attention to is the dog. You have to remember that dogs are just like humans. They have lots of different personalities. So if you run into a dog that is very energetic, they're most likely not going to be willing to cooperate. So one of the things that I normally tell my clients before they even get to the shoot is to walk their dog and make sure that they have let all of the energy out. So that way, when we actually start taking the photos, they're going to be a little more cooperative. When it comes to dogs, I would recommend to bring as many dog treats and dog toys as possible. One of the things that makes it really easy for them to pay attention to, if they're specifically food driven, is treats. So normally I recommend either bringing the client assistant or having someone in the family come along with us. So that way they're able to make sure that the dog sits in the spot where they want him to and have the treat or the toy dangling in front of their face and slowly inch it back towards the lens so that way they're actually looking into it. Now, in no means am I saying is this going to be the easiest trick in the book or something that the dog will actually be paying attention to. This is another thing that you're going to have to remember is you're going to have to be very patient. You have to think of dogs basically like babies. It's going to be really hard for them to get their attention, but when you get those photos, it's going to turn out amazing. This may take a couple tries, so I'm not saying that it's going to be a one and done situation. So what I normally recommend to the client is after a couple clicks of me taking the photos, I recommend giving that treat so the dog knows that there's an incentive and they need to stand still in order for them to actually get the treat. If the client wants to also be included in these dog photos, I'd recommend to start with the humans first. So go ahead and make sure that the client stands or sits in the pose that they want, and then start to slowly focus back onto the dog. So first, I would go ahead and start posing the people, and then as you start to inch back, make sure that you have the dog in whatever position that you want them to be, and start taking those shots. A trick that I've learned recently is to make sure you, either as the client or as the photographer, bring a lint roller. Now, you might not think that this necessarily will be helpful, but if you have a dog that sheds a lot and the client is wearing a darker piece of clothing, it's gonna automatically show when you're taking those photos. So what I normally recommend to the client, especially if their dog sheds a lot, is to make sure that they bring a lint roller with them, so it's gonna be less stress while you're working with it in Photoshop. Now, this is going to be very difficult if you have multiple dogs in the shoot. It's going to be really easy for you to maybe manage one dog, but usually 2 or 3 or 4 or any more than that is going to be very stressful. And like I've mentioned before, you just have to stay very patient. I know that this is going to take a very long time and you might not get the perfect shots that you wanted, but there's also a couple other tricks that I can let you guys know about if you ever run into this type of situation. For starters, if you're going to be taking pictures with the dog as well as the client, I'd recommend to hire the photographer for more than an hour. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because in an hour, it makes it very stressful for the photographer to get all of the energy out from the dog, and it makes them still a little less attentive. So usually after an hour, the dog gets very tired and they're most likely going to want to go home. So that way you're going to be able to get them to really pay attention to those treats and really start paying attention to the camera. One thing that I do want to quickly mention about an indoor shoot with a dog is to either use a constant light or make sure that the flash is bouncing off of something else. The reason that I sort of recommend this is because depending on the type of dog, they could either be light sensitive or start to get very uncomfortable with lights flashing in their face. So that way, when you have a constant light, they're more comfortable and they realize that this is the light that's going to be in that room. The last tip that I have is that if you ever run into a situation where one of the dogs look really well in one photo and the other dog doesn't, normally what you can do is you can go ahead and put that photo into Photoshop, make sure you select object selection tool, and then just go ahead and mask it into the other photo. Depending on the background that you have or maybe the indoor location, it might be a little bit difficult, but I think it's gonna really satisfy that client. While you're also in Photoshop, you can also start making Christmas cards or postcards depending on the theme that you guys have decided. This would be a nice little surprise for your clients. But that is the end of this video. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified every single time I post a new video. I also want to say a quick happy holidays and happy new year to all of my subscribers and anyone watching this video. I've been only doing this YouTube channel for a year, and I'm really excited to see what the next year has in store for me. If you're interested in similar videos just like this, I have a playlist created where I explain all of my tips and tricks that will be listed up here as well as in the description box below. And if you're interested in traveling the world with me and see what I do in my free time, that will be also listed in the description box below. But that is all that I have for you guys today. I hope you guys are staying safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.